Production support for the weekly special is provided by IU School of Public Health Bloomington, addressing public health needs by preventing disease, promoting health, and improving quality of life across the state and around the world through research, teaching, and community engagement. The Al Cobain Recognition Endowment Fund, established by friends and family of Al Cobain to support jazz initiatives on WTIU and WFIU. And WTIU members, thank you. Many people think that the North Pole is where the holiday magic begins.
But tonight, we're going to explore how the true spirit of Christmas starts in Santa Claus, Indiana.
Hi, I'm Erica Sagone.
And I'm Daryl Neer. Children across the globe have for centuries written to Santa Claus. But in 1930, Santa Claus started writing back.
So for 90 years, hundreds of thousands of letters have poured into Santa Claus, Indiana, from children and adults asking that their holiday wishes be answered. And this year, some really special elves have compiled some of those letters into this beautiful book from IU Press called Letters to Santa Claus. On tonight's show, we're going to explore the legacy and history behind this wonderful tradition, starting in 1930 with one of the very first letters to Santa Claus.
Dear Santa Claus, please bring for me a pair of warm gloves. And for John, a pair of shoes, size 1. And for Claire, some warm underwear. And for Joe, stockings, size 10. And for Rose, gloves for a 12-year-old. Because we are poor and got no money for toys or candy. Please come to our house as I will be waiting for you. Jamie ain't so good, so if you want, you could leave him out. He is 10 years old. Mama is fat, but she never wants anything for Christmas. We are Rose 12, Joe 11, James 10, Catherine 9, John 8, and Claire 7. And the others are dead. I hope I get them what I ask for. Catherine, Woodstock, Maryland.
Little Catherine's plea for help and for hope from Santa Claus was common during the Great Depression, but it was not new. Santa Claus was inspired by St. Nicholas, a 4th century bishop from Myra, and patron saint of children and the poor. Tales speak of his generosity, giving gifts in secret, one such hidden gift landing inside stockings hung by the fire to dry. By the 1100s, French nuns began giving candy and gifts to needy children on St. Nicholas Day, celebrated not on Christmas Eve, but December 6th. And so, as immigrants arrived on the shores of New York, they brought not just their dreams and hopes for the new world, but also the traditions of who might help them in their journey. It was a poem in 1822 by New York professor Clement Clark Moore that transformed St. Nicholas, or Cinder Claus, into his American successor. Instead of a tall, stoic man, for the first time we learned of an impish elf with rosy cheeks, twinkling eyes, and a little round belly, with a sleigh full of toys and his 8 flying reindeer. Famed illustrator Thomas Nast unveiled more of Santa's magic, drawing detailed scenes showing for the first time Santa's list of good children, his workshop where he built toys, and his Christmas Eve flight. Back in Indiana, in 1852, when the little town of Santa Fe learned it must change its name in order to get a new post office, it's no wonder what the town lore says. A little girl, upon hearing the sound of sleigh bells outside the town meeting, proclaimed, "It's Santa Claus." The application was resubmitted, the post office was approved, and the first Santa Claus town in the world came to be, A decade later, Thomas Nast revealed the location of Santa's home in Santa Clausville, North Pole. For the first time, children knew how to write him. And write they did. By the turn of the century, the United States Postal Department was under pressure by the press and public. Couldn't they find some way to get these letters, filled with the hopes and wishes of children, into the hands of Santa's helpers? In response, in 1912, the department approved a new rule. Local postmasters could allow community elves to answer these letters. And soon after, it instituted the courtesy custom of forwarding letters addressed to Santa Claus to the small southern town of Santa Claus, Indiana. As Santa's popularity grew, so too did the town's recognition. And it was that recognition during World War I that forever changed the future of Santa Claus.
My father was Raymond Joseph Yellig, really strange German name, not many of them in the world anymore. And he was born in Mariah Hill, Indiana, and joined the United States Navy as a very young man. But while he was in the Navy, he was at Brooklyn Navy Yard. So at Christmas time, the sailors decided they wanted to have a Christmas party for children. Sailor said, "Jim, you know, you say you're from Santa Claus. Would you like to help us out for this party and be Santa Claus for these children?" And he said it was absolutely just most wonderful experience. He said, "When I see the children, when I see them smile, when I see their wonder, that makes it all worthwhile." And he said, "I made the promise to myself that if I lived through World War I, I would do this. I would be Santa Claus."
After surviving World War I and retiring from the Navy, Yellig married his childhood sweetheart, Isabella, and moved back to Santa Claus, Indiana. For Postmaster Martin, the additional Santa helper came at the perfect time. By 1929, the tiny town received nearly 100,000 letters a year. Indiana Congressman Harry Rowbottom proposed a U.S. bill to raise the postmaster's salary for all his efforts. Upon reading the proposal, Robert Ripley, of Ripley's Believe It or Not, was astonished to learn there was a Santa Claus, and shared it with the world through his popular cartoon. By next Christmas, the town received over 1 million letters. Yellig and his wife organized the first team of Santa helpers. The elves had come to Santa Claus.
Dear Santa Claus, I'm writing to tell you and your staff that this year I've been a stinker, a real louse. So don't bother to bring me a thing. Here's what I mean. Put Tabasco sauce on ice cream. My brothers thought it was Hershey's syrup. Then the fun began. Put an imitation snake on Ma's dresser. We had to revive Ma. Then Aunt Nellie fainted, and we revived her. Then Sis fainted. Gee, Santa, we had a real revival meeting. Only a week left of school. I couldn't resist setting off the fire alarm. Gee, Santa, did that joint empty fast. Our school principal ain't got no sense of humor. At the school party, I pushed Priscilla Pinkerton's pretty pink puss into the pumpkin pie. No one else approved. But I haven't had such fun since I fed the neighbor's cat castor oil. I didn't do much this month yet, Santa, but give me some time. I still got 2 weeks. So you see, Santa, I don't deserve anything. But just bring peace on Earth and stop these damn wars, and all of us will be happy. P.S. Don't drive your reindeer over our house, Buster. With the price of beef what it is, and Pappy's shotgun so conveniently handy. Well, anyhow, Santa Merry Christmas. Snodgrass, the good little bad boy.
The world embraced Santa Claus, Indiana, and Santa Claus, Indiana welcomed the world. On December 22, 1935, Santa Claus Town, the nation's first themed attraction, officially opened, starting with Santa's Candy Castle. On Christmas, Carl Barrett unveiled the iconic Santa Claus statue, set on the highest hill in town, dedicated to the children of the world and in memory of undying love. The sentiment took on new meaning a decade later. As World War II raged across the seas, Operation Santa intensified its efforts, recruiting charitable organizations and Santa helpers across the nation to match the growing need. In Santa Claus, Indiana, the Elves and their leader answered the call.
I think he took it on as a project, a commitment, a ministry, whatever, that he was going to take care of. He organized the endeavor with asking American Legion posts to assist, asking the monastery at St. Meinrad, the monks there to help, and the nuns at Ferdinand in the monastery there. He just got it organized so that more people would become involved and so more letters would be answered. And it's like, for me, my memory is of my dad always driving around with a car full of boxes with letters that he was taking somewhere or delivering. He would make them very personal. He would send a letter to the American Legion post in the town to see if they could possibly help a child that was in need. He was just one of those people that gave and thought about other people. He was very patriotic, very religious, and Santa Claus just went into all of that, you know. Because he was Santa Claus too, see, he became Santa Claus. And when people say to me, how long did your dad play Santa Claus? I'm like, he never played Santa Claus. He was Santa Claus.
In 1946, Santa Claus Land opened, featuring Santa Claus himself. For the next 40 years, children young and old could visit Santa 300 days a year.
He had lots of suits. There's a picture of my mother hanging the suits on the wash line because he usually sat the children on his right knee and that velvet wore out on that knee. I believed in Santa Claus, and strangely enough, I thought my dad was Santa Claus. I would see bells and suits, and you know, I would know that he was going out in an evening to be at a party somewhere and be Santa Claus. So when I became around 12 years old, he came to our grade school and he asked me to sing a song, and I thought, that's my dad, and he knows I like to sing, and he's picking me out to sing a song. And so I got home and I said, you know, Dad, was that you? You made me say, well, yes. So after that, he would bring letters home because he had never done that before. He hadn't been brought letters home. And I would help. Around the age of 12, I started helping. But I just thought, well, my dad's Santa Claus, you know, I'm just really lucky. This is okay.
Over the years, he flew around the country, from New York City to Los Angeles and everywhere in between, leading dozens of parades with his reindeer and sleigh, appearing on television programs like What's My Line, and even writing a book about how fun it was to be Santa Claus.
It wasn't work. It was just what he loved to do. He loved the attention. And so when he walked in a room, it would be a grand entrance, and of course everybody would get all excited. And he loved doing that. It was his life. It truly was his life.
Come back and see Santa Claus again. And here you hold this little truck. And you know, when you hear the bells ringing again, see that? Huh? You know what that means, don't you? Huh? That's Christmas time, isn't it? Huh? Well, isn't that nice?
Dear Santa Claus, I'm not sure if I was a good girl this year, but if I get presents for Christmas, I promise to be a good girl next year. Here is what I want. I would like to have some clothes and anything you would want me to have. And if you want, you can give other children more toys than me. But there's so many things I want, but I can't have. Like Beatles records, doll, roller skates, and a record player. But you don't have to give me all of these things. Love always, Joe Francis. 40 kisses. P.S. I will love you even when I'll be 40 years old. And it's not only because I want presents, it's because I love you.
After moving away to attend nursing school, Pat once again felt the pull of Santa Claus.
When I came back, got married, and saw my dad, and of course he was getting older and needed a lot more help. And you know, the realization came, this needs to be carried on. This needs to be kept as a tradition, as a legacy. So that's when Santa's Elves Incorporated was founded.
Started with the help of Pat in 1976, the nonprofit organization relies entirely on donations to fund the necessary postage and stationery, refusing to charge people to receive a personalized letter. All written and delivered from Santa's volunteer force of elves, each one hand-addressed and hand-canceled with a special Santa Claus stamp.
Since 2006, the elves have worked here. We work in the back of the original Santa Claus post office in Santa Claus, Indiana, and we still use local community today. Family, friends, neighbors, local businesses, school groups. We've got a group of high school exchange students every year from the local high school who help us. We get letters from all over the world, and so if we have a German foreign exchange student or a Taiwanese foreign exchange student, then we would make sure to have letters for them. And those students will translate the letters, and then they'll be able to write a response back in that child's own language, which is a really amazing thing. The letters themselves are really rewarding. They're sweet and they're funny, and they're like this lovely reminder that Christmas is not about shopping and decorating and baking. Those are fun, those are great things, we all do them, but when you read these sweet letters, that's, you know, the magic of Christmas is this belief and hope, and I think that's what brings people back.
Elves work year-round, but busy season starts after Thanksgiving. Last year, Santa Claus received 14,000 letters, enough to require a special mail elf. 3 times a day, he picks up the new letters for the elves and brings completed letters back to the post office, where he hand-cancels each one and sends them on their way.
Some of the surprises I get is usually when I'm at the post office, if there's other people up there. They're in there very meticulously taking one letter at a time, and I come in with my box. I go through them in about 5 minutes, you know, and I got a whole stack done, and they say, "Boy, you're quick." And I said, "Well, I've had some experience." I get through probably about 600 letters in a half-hour time. Towards the end of the year, you sort of get tired and the elbow starts hurting. But it's a worthwhile project, and I think that they see that we're doing something to make kids happy all over the world.
Santa's Elves have a mission. It's a passion, really, and their calling is to answer every letter from children and adults that comes to Santa Claus, Indiana. So far, we've had enough volunteer support. We've had wonderful elves who dedicate a lot of time, and they really work right up to the deadline to make sure they can answer every letter that comes in.
We probably work 16 hours a day answering the letters, and it takes a village. We have groups that come in, and faithful followers such as myself, and people that drop in. When you do it at least once, you can't stop doing it because it's so much joy doing it.
You know, it's a great experience. It's a wonderful time. And it's almost like after it's over, it's like, oh, I can't believe it's over, and now what? Wait till next year.
Dear Santa Claus, I love you very much. I watched a show about you and they said there was no Santa Claus. But I believe in you. If you are really Santa Claus, could you get me a baby alive? The boys in my class said that there was no Santa Claus. My mom said that they will be disappointed when they don't get anything. You are my best friend I've got. Your friend, Sarah.
You are my best friend I've got. Your friend, Sarah. I had just happened to walk into a greeting card store, and right when I walked in, they had the book on display. I looked in the front of the book to see what it was about, and then looked at maybe 1 or 2 letters in the book, and the last page I looked at was my letter, and I found my handwriting. And I kind of just stood there and looked at it for a second and just couldn't even believe it. And then I saw my name at the end, and it really hit me that this was real and it was my letter. And I was about 8. My parents were in the process of getting a divorce, so my mom and I had moved to Indianapolis. We used to live in a really small farm town, and so it was a bit of an adjustment for me that year. It was just a rough time for me as a child. For anyone that age, you know, Santa is everything, especially this time of year, and especially when you're hurting a little bit and just looking for some, I guess, extra love at that time of the year. So that's why I think it was important to me to write that.
I think when we're reading the letters, you can definitely see that all the children consider Santa their best friend, and they can talk to their best friend about things that really are heavy on their minds. It's hard to read some of those letters, especially when Christmas time is supposed to be the happiest time for everybody. And you always want to see somebody to be really happy. One packet of letters we got was from a nursing home. The first letter in the package was written in a very spidery hand by an old man. And it read, "Dear Santa, please tell my son to bring my grandchildren to visit me. I want so to see them before I die." So Santa wrote that he would whisper into his son's ear when he delivered Christmas to his family.
I mean, when people write letters, they open their hearts. I mean, they say how bad their life is. It's almost like Santa's a psychologist, a priest, a minister, everything wrapped up in one.
I think adults write the letters because they want to be heard as well, but I think they believe in the magic of Christmas, that somewhere there is a Santa that is going to help them. They may never meet me at all. They may never meet any of us, but they'll know that someone cared enough to answer back.
Santa, my name is Robbie, and this year I can't be with my daughter Raven. She is a very good girl and would like nothing better than to get a letter from Santa. She is 5 years old and very smart and pretty. I know she would give up any presents just to have her daddy home for Christmas. I've enclosed a stamp and was hoping that you could write to her and let her know that Daddy loves her and will be home soon. I know she would love that, and my girlfriend will get a smile out of it too. Thank you. Robbie, Indiana Department of Correction.
I love the tradition of writing to Santa. I am a historian by training, and I love the idea of this connection to generations past. Helping Santa answer letters is something the town has done for over 100 years, and so answering the letters because that's what we do is part of it. I also think that it's something small, right? Like changing the world is hard, and very few people actually do it, and it's hard to accomplish, but what you can do is maybe make a difference to one person. Who knows what's going on in the lives of these children who are writing to Santa, and you don't know what impact your letter is going to have. And so maybe getting a letter from Santa Claus is the one thing that makes everything okay, just for a minute.
The magic of Santa is always going to be there because the magic is in people believing. It just makes smiles and wonder, and so much bad in the world now. We need the smiles and we need the wonder. Everything that Santa stands for. He stands for loving, and he stands for peace, and he stands most of all for caring.
You know, children have access to so much information. They question so many things. They know so many things. They have so much knowledge. And yet, every year, how many thousands of children still believe in Santa Claus? How many things do they believe in, really believe in? So to keep that faith is so important, I think. that should be kept alive. But it should be kept alive in the right way. You know, it shouldn't be a job. It shouldn't be something that I have to do at the mall or I have to do to make some money. It's just, you know, like for my dad, it should be for the right reasons. And he always said, you know, to bring joy, to just bring joy. And the world needs joy.
So much hope expressed in all of those letters across generations.
And think about just the thousands of kids that have been impacted by these letters across the globe over the decades. It's just so heartwarming.
And as we enter this holiday season, I can't help but see those letters as a reminder of how we can embody the spirit of Santa Claus in our own communities.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Happy holidays. Good night.
Good night.
Production support for the weekly special is provided by IU School of Public Health Bloomington, addressing public health needs by preventing disease, promoting health, and improving quality of life across the state and around the world through research, teaching, and community engagement. The Al Cobain Recognition Endowment Fund, established by friends and family of Al Cobain to support jazz initiatives on WTIU and WFIU. And WTIU members, thank you.